You know what Sony had? The Holy Trinity. Leo, Brad, and Margot. Who do you have?
You voted for it. It's our March Madness winner. Eyes Wide Shut, Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, Stanley Kubrick. This is Boy Party. Let's just relax, Shane. This podcast is making you aggressive. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Boy Party. My name is Lucien, and I am joined by my wife, who has told me about... I should have said my husband, who's told me about a weird fantasy he had about a sailor, and now it's driving me completely insane. The twist! It's Sailor, played by Nicolas Cage in Wild at Heart. It's Shane.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show. Eyes Wide Shut, a real situation that's going to happen in our relationship someday if we're not careful. Except I'm going to end up at Barry's Balloons instead of the Fidelio mansion.
Yes, Balloons is the password.
Balloons is the password. You voted for this movie, folks, so you better enjoy the banter that ensues because this is what you wanted. We gave you 32 choices of a movie for us to cover for March Madness for 2025. Last year, Brokeback Mountain defeated 21 Jump Street. We gave you 32 brand new movies this year. They were seeded from the very top and the very bottom of our master list of eligible films. Mm-hmm. And I think we seeded it quite well. We'll go through now and see how well we did. But you voted for Eyes Wide Shut, so we're here discussing it. And if this is not the most in-depth, intelligent discussion of this film you've ever heard, you get your money back.
People like sexual movies.
They do,
it seems,
and they don't make them anymore because of woke. We don't get movies with sex in them anymore. Culture has become so desexualized. Yada yada. Certainly, the Mr. Cruise has completely removed all elements of sex from his movies, but he's replaced sex with the raw sexual power of jumping off things and getting stuck.
He has replaced sex with incredibly intimate platonic friendship with his female co-stars.
And male co-stars. And that's something beautiful that we could all mirror in our own lives. I think it's wonderful. The only thing sexier than this movie is the trailer for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning that dropped today. You may have heard the 9-minute bonus episode of me reacting to it. We dropped yesterday, if you want to tune into that and hear my just kind of shot by shot breakdown. But your thoughts, Shane? Pretty good. Honks and slaps.
Giving me what I need.
Giving you what you need. They gave him an aircraft carrier.
They gave him an aircraft carrier.
It's great.
Yeah, it's like, it's very, very clearly trying to be the culmination of everything that came before it.
Yeah, it's pulling the end game, the No Time to Die, all that.
Very, very hard.
All that shtick.
To the point where I'm like,
rolling your eyes a little bit.
Rolling my eyes a little bit. I said it was heavy on the platitudes, where every line of dialogue in the trailer is trying to be the epic.
This is the biggest moment of your life, Ethan. Ethan. I've been your friend for years. There's
you
a lot
need
of that.
to trust me one more time.
Yeah,
that's a Tom Cruise line.
But that stuff fucking works on us.
It does. Yeah.
I think this is the one franchise where we can uncynically engage with that type of shit because we are so profoundly connected to this character and to these movies in a way that like we would roll our eyes at other people for reacting this way to Ghostbusters or Marvel or maybe even
like Tom
Star
Cruise
Wars.
Also kind of transcends sincerity and irony.
True. He's not on that spectrum. He's off somewhere else entirely, which is why Eyes Wide Shut works so well, which we'll discuss.
Now, if Mission Impossible had that level of dialogue without the physicality to back it up, it'd be
cheesy, and it'd be like Fast and Furious, like this is my family. Like that's the shit that Vin Diesel pulls. Where I mean, we like it. We're pro the family bullshit in Fast and Furious, but it does have like a weird kind of Christian thing baked into it. Tom Cruise,
even though this is far more spiritual and religious, because
it is,
he might actually just die
because of the Scientology. It does actually operate on a different scale to normal religious imagery. One where I can choose to ignore the religious implications because they don't bother me.
And like
directly because I'm not
seemingly
Irish Catholic stuff.
Look, if the message they want to produce is that Scientology is about loving your friends and being nice to them, then
let them promote that element of it rather than the other side of it.
Sure.
But Tom Cruise would never be part of any weird secret societies that get up to any weird behavior, and no one would ever make a movie about that.
No, definitely not. And he definitely would he wouldn't join that secret society. He'd go and tell his wife immediately.
Exactly. So let's talk about how this movie won March Madness. We began with 32 movies. We did one poll every day throughout the month of March. That's how it works. We started on day one with our number one seed, Don't Look Up, versus our number 32, the Henry Fonda and Kirk Douglas movie, There Was a Crooked Man.
Okay.
I don't know anything about that movie. And that is evident in the fact that Don't Look Up won with 100% of the vote. So Don't Look Up, an instant frontrunner there on day one. Day two, Some Like It Hot defeats Space Cowboys, 83% to 17%. Any thoughts there? Space Cowboys, people weren't feeling it.
No, I guess not.
We can also use these polls as a good indication of what movies we should and shouldn't prioritize in terms of boosting our listenership.
Yeah.
Space Cowboys, unfortunately, doesn't seem like one that people have seen or particularly care about. But what can you do? Day three, Eyes Wide Shut wins 100% against Old Dogs, the Travolta, Robin Williams, Disney Nightmare, Walt Becker movie. Pretty happy with that.
Sign of things to come.
Yep. Day four, Last Night in Soho loses to Ron Howard's 2011 comedy The Dilemma with Vince Vaughn and Kevin James. Crazy that Last Night in Soho was defeated. This is an Edgar Wright movie from 3 or 4 years ago. I would have thought this movie had a lot of social media backing, but
No, did you see this in cinemas?
no,
I didn't either.
because it's scary.
Oh, okay.
This is a spooky, scary movie. Day five, The Banshees of Inisherin absolutely wallops Terry George's Reservation Road. No surprise there.
What about Banshees? I'm interested. I
Seed
can't
4.
remember.
Banshees gets through the second round. Day 6, Ocean's 8 destroys Billionaire Boys Club. No surprise there. Day 7, The Notebook. 100% win against Seraphim Falls, the only time Liam Neeson and Pierce Brosnan have co-starred in a movie. Good Irish boy party. The Princess Diaries wins 100% against the bird-watching comedy The Big Year with Jack Black, Steve Martin, and Owen Wilson, a movie that really doesn't exist. Yeah. Day 9, No Country for Old Men wins 100% against the Grace Kelly Alec Guinness movie The Swan, which I cannot tell you anything about. No surprise there. Snatch destroyed by Entrapment. 100% win for Entrapment there. Nobody wants us to do Snatch, apparently.
No.
I think we might still do Snatch at some point.
Yeah, we should.
There's not a lot of Stathams you can do that people have any interest in, but you'll see, folks, what happens with Statham later on. Day 11, Babylon beats Broken City 100%.
A few blowouts here in the early rounds.
Yeah. Then, day 12, we had our first tie. Notting Hill and Stuck on You, 50-50. Shane was the tiebreaker because he hadn't voted, and you chose Stuck on You. Notting Hill got knocked out there, but both films got a decent number of votes. So I think both of those films we consider doing.
We'll get back to.
Because they both got good votes. Catch Me If You Can, 100% defeat against The Man, the Sam Jackson, Eugene Levy comedy, which I think we have now firmly decided we will not be covering. On day 14, Nocturnal Animals just about beats Grudge Match, 67-33. Day 15, we did a fun one, which was Civil War versus War, posters that are exactly the same. We got Chris Evans, Robert Downey on the left, and we got Jet Li, Jason Statham on the right. Very narrow defeat there. Civil War takes it 60-40. The next day, The Big Short, 100% against Robin and Marion, the Sean Connery.
Is that the
Audrey
final
Hepburn movie? That's the final of round
one.
one. Round two, Don't Look Up loses to Some Like It Hot.
Yeah.
Pretty good defeat there, actually. Some Like It Hot, 71%.
Upset.
Eyes Wide Shut, 100% win against The Dilemma.
Yeah.
The Dilemma was lucky to be in round two. That was a crazy one. The Notebook does not do well against Princess Diaries. Princess Diaries in round two has the biggest vote total of the entire tournament.
People were
really in on Princess Diaries at this point. Huge votes for Princess Diaries there, 80%. The Banshees and Ocean's 8 tie. And I think the tiebreak there was that I removed my own vote from it, which gave the win to Ocean's 8. Then we have Captain America Civil War being roundly defeated by The Big Short. Babylon destroys Stuck on You. No Country for Old Men. I'm running out of terminology to use here. Takes a massive chunk out of Entrapment. Catch Me If You Can. Kicks Nocturnal Animals to the curb, 100% to 0%. We're on to the quarterfinals. Eyes Wide Shut, 100% defeat against Some Like It Hot. That was the moment where I thought Eyes Wide Shut had a really good chance of winning. Princess Diaries beats Ocean's 8, 70-30. There's another really strong vote total there, and at that point I was basically convinced that the Princess Diaries was going to win the entire thing. We then have Catch Me If You Can narrowly beats The Big Short, and Babylon narrowly beats No Country for Old Men. Into the semifinals, Eyes Wide Shut, 57%. The Princess Diaries, 43%. And then Catch Me If You Can, 67% to Babylon, 33%. I am very surprised Catch Me If You Can got to the final.
Yeah.
I'm shocked it came second. I felt the same way about 21 Jump Street last year.
I wonder, is this just a familiarity thing where everyone has seen it?
I've seen it because it's on Orgy all the time. I think that movie's boring, and I think that Leo and Hanks are people we've discussed pretty thoroughly already. Like, I wouldn't have thought that was one people were gasping for more of compared to, say, Princess Diaries or even Babylon. But I don't know. I think people just haven't seen Babylon and are mixed on it. And then the final, Eyes Wide Shut, wins 71% to 29% for Catch Me If You Can. Pretty decisive. I was personally relieved. I didn't have any enthusiasm to talk about Catch Me If You Can. I don't think we're going to be prioritizing it. What did you want to win there?
I'm very happy with the outcome.
Yeah. I certainly was more in the mood to watch this movie this week.
I have a sicko fascination with The Big Short.
Yeah, you want The Big Short?
A little bit, yeah.
I would have liked... I didn't want Babylon to win because I didn't want to watch Babylon last week. Just wasn't in the mood. I think I wanted Princess Diaries to win at a certain point because I was like, if the girls are showing up and voting for it, they deserve to get an episode.
And if we were doing The Big Short, I could go on to a long rant about why the stock market is plummeting at the moment.
Yes. The Big Short probably would be a good one to do in terms of right now, the news. But there's 4 guys there that if we talk about The Big Short, we kind of kill the possibility of doing them again for a while.
Sure.
And there's so many Goslings, Carells, and Pitts that I want to do, or I'm a little bit hesitant to do The Big Short. But
we could do The Big Short from the perspective of Jeremy Strong and Hamish Linklater.
True, and just talk about them. Yeah, we very much could. But we're here. It is Eyes Wide Shut time, folks. We know you're excited to hear us talk about all the sex and scandal of Stanley Kubrick's.
We also timed this
Eyes
pretty
Wide
perfectly that the March Madness format, which is based on the NCAA men and women's basketball tournament, final is on tonight.
No way. Very good. But also, did you realize that the last week that the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning teaser trailer came out was the week that we did our Collateral episode?
Oh, yes.
We've timed our cruise episodes with both of the trailers. That was not deliberate. No. So that's very funny.
We're the living manifestations of destiny.
Exactly. Here's a funny question that we're going to use as a is Shane know nothing about movies, put him on the spot. Is this the first Stanley Kubrick film you've seen? The only one? Have you seen The Shining? Have you seen...
don't embarrass me.
Have you seen... I'm not embarrassing you. Have you seen Doctor Strangelove? No. I feel like they're the only ones you could have seen.
I've seen bits and pieces of Full Metal Jacket.
Bits and pieces of Full Metal Jacket. All right, okay. No, I'm not embarrassing
I've been meaning to, but
I'm not a Kubrick diehard. I'm not going to shame you for it.
I know, but like they're...
I'd only seen maybe 2 until they did them on Blank Check in 2022.
I have too much reverence for them where I will not watch them on an airplane when they're there.
Sure. But they're also the kind of... This is the issue I've always said, folks, with Shane's relationship with classic films, is that I'll put on stuff that I'm personally very passionate about, like the musicals we talk about in this podcast, the 60s Hitchcocks, the stuff that I love.
Yeah.
But the stuff like The Godfather, The Apocalypse Now, fucking the Spielberg classics, which I'm a lot cooler on, the Kubricks, these are not films that I'm going to casually throw on a Wednesday night for Shane to see.
They're not personal favorites.
No, they're not personal favorites. So you're going to have to seek these out in your own time rather than have your cinephile buddy put them on
I do like
you.
Waiting for these ones to come around and be shown in the Lighthouse.
That's the thing. They will get shown in the Lighthouse eventually. So you should have an opportunity to see these.
Yeah, like I caught up on... Got to see Mulholland Drive in the cinema.
Yeah. No, you're like, if you live in a city, you will generally get to see Kubrick, Lynch, Scorsese movies on a cycle. Then there's directors that the art house cinemas just completely neglect, like Hitchcock, where you'll never get to see those films.
Course, the documentary about
exactly Hitchcock. The shitty Mark Cousins documentary. But anyway, past and future guest Mark Cousins. But anyway, I watched most, if not all, Kubrick's films when they covered him on Blank Check, and I was mostly pretty positive. I think that my hot take is that his best film is Lolita, and I think that you might feel the same way if you watch them all. Lolita is very up our street. It is a James Mason pervert satire. Or James Mason is playing a pedophile, basically, who is pursuing a teenage girl, and he's fantasizing about her the way, American Beauty style, and he's like
very up our street.
Yeah, just in terms of the Mason performance and the way the film depicts him as this kind of lecherous creep. And then halfway through the film, Peter Sellers shows up and just throws a spanner in the works. Wonderful. And maybe the greatest actress of all time, Shelley Winters, plays Lolita's mother, and it is an incredible film. And James Mason is so slimy in it, and he's just like, "Oh, Lolita, come over to me here now," and he's so good. Lolita's so good. I love it. It's great, beautiful. Black and white, stunning film. Then you've got obviously the kind of undeniable power of 2001, of Barry Lyndon, of The Shining. I'm not that mad on Clockwork Orange. I didn't do much for me. Doctor Strangelove, I haven't really watched start to finish, I'll be honest.
We did see the stage
but we
production
did
of it
both
recently.
see the stage production recently, which was very good. I do need to sit down and watch it. We're such big failsafe heads, though. We're team failsafe in the war of Strangelove versus failsafe. And then Spartacus, Paths of Glory, and The Killing, I had no particular interest in. And Full Metal Jacket's fine. I saw it when I was about 15, and I haven't rewatched it. I thought it was fine. And then he ends his career on Eyes Wide Shut, which I think is one of the great final films. I looked up a list of final films the other day by directors because it's not a great bunch. There's really
it's hard to be at your peak when you're in your 80s.
It's very hard. And now Kubrick dies when he's a little bit younger than his 80s, but not that much younger. He's 70.
Yeah.
And he goes out on a high. This is one of his best films. And it's amazing that he is able to produce something that feels so fresh and has such a vibrant perspective on marriage and sex and relationships and all this when he is 70 years old. But then you look at the stuff that Scorsese is making today, and to a much, much lesser extent. Ridley Scott, Terrence Malick, guys who are really old, and you're like, you know what? Old men are probably working at a higher standard now than they have been at any point in film history. Certainly Scorsese is. But I'm looking here at the final films list I have in front of me. The best final films, you've got John Huston's The Dead, which is great. Ken Loach, apparently retired now, made The Old Oak 2 years ago, which is great. Terrence Davies' Benediction. Lumet's final film is the Philip Seymour Hoffman, Ethan Hawke movie Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, which is okay, starring friend of the show, Brian F. O'Byrne. Yes. Hitchcock's final film is Family Plot, which I always forget. I always think his final film is Torn Curtain, but it's Family Plot, which is fine, not very memorable. Mike Nichols' final film, Charlie Wilson's War. John Singleton's final film is the Taylor Lautner vehicle, Abduction. Leone, Once Upon a Time in America, probably deserves to be in the conversation. And, Orson Welles, F for Fake, that's a pretty good one. But yeah, it's tough to make a good final film. Eyes Wide Shut's definitely up there. So it's released a couple months after he dies. I'm looking here. He dies in March 1999, and this movie comes out in July 1999. So it is finished just after he dies by, the editor and the producers put some final touches on it. So there's a little bit of speculative, is this 100% the film that Kubrick wanted released, or is it 90% the film Kubrick wanted released, which is bound to happen when someone dies right before a film gets finalized. But I would imagine that this film is as close to Kubrick's vision as you're realistically going to get.
But not his original vision.
But not his original vision.
He wanted to cast a comedy actor.
He did. And casting choices for the role of Dr. Bill in this movie, in its initial conception, were very different. So this film is loosely based on a 1926 novella called Dream Story, Traumnovelle by Arthur Schnitzler, an Austrian author. And people that he was considering to be in this: Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger as the couple, because they were married at the time. It's the same thing. Sorry, this is separate to what you were saying. In terms of the comedy actors, yes, he considered Harrison Ford, he considered Steve Martin, he considered Woody Allen, which would have been a completely different film, obviously. But you consider that he worked with Peter Sellers a couple times. I guess he was probably interested in working with someone like Woody Allen. Peter Sellers in this movie 20 years earlier would have been interesting. But then, yes, he obviously gets attached at a certain point to the idea of casting a real-life married couple. Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger in this movie makes a perfect sense. Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger are kind of the low-rent version of Tom and Nicole and are on equally horrible terms now. And also a very similar dynamic where the woman has an Oscar and the man does not, which is kind of a win for the girls. And then he considers doing the exact same thing with Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, but I don't think that even was taken seriously. I don't think anyone had any meetings about that. Is this movie even vaguely watchable with Bruce Willis and Demi Moore? I don't think so. Does Bruce Willis and Demi Moore's marriage end on more explosive terms if they're in this movie? Are they still hanging out in 2025 if they're in this movie?
Does Demi Moore have an Oscar?
Does Demi Moore have an Oscar
if she was in this?
Perhaps. Jennifer Jason Leigh and Harvey Keitel were both cast in supporting roles and both dropped out of the movie during production because this film took so long to make.
Yeah.
Principal photography began.
So do you think
November 1996, and the film
would
came
Sidney
out.
Pollack have taken over Harvey Keitel?
Yes. Yeah. I believe Sidney Pollack took over Harvey Keitel's role and Maria Richardson took over Jennifer Jason Leigh's role. This movie started filming November 96 and came out in July 99. So this movie started filming 1 year before I was born.
Yep.
And it came out when I was almost 2.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Took a
That's
while.
nuts. My whole conception and first 2 years of my life occur between this film starting production and being released. Nuts. It went on for ages. People were getting pissed off. Tom Cruise develops an ulcer. However, it was 15-month shoot, 46 weeks. There is generally seems to be a sense that Tom and Nicole actually had a pretty good experience making it, and that their marriage was never better.
They were busy.
They were busy. They were in England. They were hanging out. I think they had the kids at this point. So there was just pretty good vibes with them. But I mean, someone like Harvey Keitel just absolutely would not.
There's also not a whole lot in this where they're together. Like a lot of it.
No, there isn't. Although if you look
40
at
minutes
the
of it.
timeline of the movie, I'd say there's probably a full hour where they're together.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, we can talk through the plot of the film in a few minutes.
We will,
It's very simple. So this movie starts with the two of them going to a Christmas party in a fancy house.
Black tie
event, a fancy house, and they are kind of split off into their two separate little schmoozing episodes. He starts to just basically talk to beautiful women, and she goes off and dances with a handsome man, and then they meet up again and they dance together. Then Tom Cruise meets his old buddy Nick Nightingale, played by friend of the show Todd Field. Now, folks, everyone loves when I drop names of people that I've met on the show. It's everyone's favorite thing. But I must drop in the information that I had dinner with Todd Field last June. I spent an afternoon and evening with him. He did a lovely talk for us at my day job. He was an absolute delight, such a lovely man. Told me a great story about how he had Jimmy Stewart had pulled over to talk to him when his car broke down once in LA. And then he told the story to Tom Cruise, who still remains friends with. And Tom Cruise was like, "Oh, wow, I thought my Jimmy Stewart story was good. I just met him in an elevator." And Todd Field, I asked if he had ever considered writing a role for Tom Cruise or making a film for Tom Cruise, and he said that it had been discussed, but nothing had ever come to fruition. And but he still obviously has a good relationship with Tom Cruise. He also spoke about his relationship with Kubrick, and that Kubrick had mentored him as a filmmaker and had, I think, looked at the script for In the Bedroom, his first film, and had been super, helpful to him when he was starting out as a writer-director, which is really nice to hear. And I think Todd Field now is a filmmaker that you can see very strong inspiration from this movie in a film like Tar, which is very similar in its pacing and its construction. And Tar has a very similar vibe. The scenes in Tar where Cate Blanchett is, let's say, exploring weird buildings or walking around looking for things, footsteps.
Makes use of the very kind of distinct Berlin landscape, the way this does
and
with
it
New
takes
York.
its time with the revisiting of places and locations, and the music doesn't get overused. There's a relationship with classical music, but then there's a lack of score being used, and there's a lot of silence and footsteps. They're both very influenced by Hitchcock as well, but I do think that Tar is a film that has a lot in common with Eyes Wide Shut, and for me is better. I think is a better film.
You think so?
Yeah.
You're landing on that?
I think Tar is a masterpiece. Eyes Wide Shut I like, but I'm not as infatuated with as many people. But anyway, they go to this party. He's talking to Nick Nightingale. This will become relevant again in a little while. But anyway, there's a woman who overdoses in the bathroom. She's a prostitute that Mr. Pollock is obviously has engaged the services of, and Tom Cruise is a doctor, so he's called on to help with that situation. They go home after the party. Nicole Kidman gets stoned, and basically there's like a really, really long conversation that goes on for like 20 minutes with the two of them, where she basically tells him that she's had a fantasy about having sex with a sailor.
Yeah, when they were at a resort the year prior, she saw like a sailor walk through the lobby, and he was like young and handsome.
There you go.
And she basically goes on a long conversation about how if he had asked, she would have said yes.
There you go. And Tom Cruise
this
is
sends Tom Cruise on a existential spiral.
Yeah, he doesn't like lash out and start being violent or anything. He's just like
puts his hands in his head.
Yeah, he's like, that's really fucking weird. I'm Tom Cruise. I'm so sexy. Why is my wife thinking about another man?
Yeah.
And I think this movie is ultimately kind of about the ego of a man like Tom Cruise being
absolutely
completely torn apart. So he goes for a long walk, which takes him to a number of people. He goes to visit.
Where does he go first?
He goes to visit the Jennifer Thingy character first.
The prostitute.
No, he goes to visit the other woman first. I can't.
Sorry. Yes, a client or a patient of his dies.
Yes.
And he goes to meet the patient's daughter, who is grieving at the time.
Yes, he goes over to her. He gets into like very close, borderline sexual situations with a couple of these people.
Reluctantly first, the daughter of the dead man
she
tries to kiss him and says,
and he's
I
like,
love
I'm
him.
leaving. And then he goes over to this prostitute's house. He's basically walking around the streets of New York. Looks incredible. He's doing a lot of it against a green screen.
Yeah.
He gets called a homophobic slur by this gang of boyos walking past.
She doubles down on the emasculation of Tom Cruise in this.
Exactly. Then he ends up meeting this. Now, is this prostitute character he meets, she hasn't been in the film prior to this, no?
No.
So he kind of wanders into her house with her and sort of hangs out with her for a while. She looks like Daphne from Scooby-Doo. Incredible shade of purple that just doesn't exist anymore. Like Ribena colored outfit that she's wearing is such a fun like late 90s relic.
No, sorry, I can't remember the order. Does he get the call about the dead client when he's at the prostitute's house?
No, he gets the call about the dead client when he's
at home
having his argument with Nicole Kidman. Yeah. So he leaves her house and he ends up going to a jazz club where Nick Nightingale is playing the piano. And Nick Nightingale tells him about this crazy party that he gets hired to play piano at, where they blindfold him and the password is Fidelio. And Tom Cruise is like, that sounds class. So he gets a costume from the costume shop of a cloak and a mask, and then he heads out in a taxi to this mansion where he is invited in. This is halfway through the movie, and then we have like 20-30 minutes of him not even, like actually like 15-20 minutes of him at this masked orgy, which is the most iconic part of this film, even though it's actually like a very small chunk of the running time relatively. Where he is basically caught as an imposter and is sort of
ousted,
interrogated. But he isn't unmasked for who he is. But he goes home.
They take his mask off.
Oh, they take his mask off?
They do.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, you're right. They do. Oops. He becomes extremely neurotic the next morning of basically thinking that he's going to be followed and killed. And
he was also warned at the party by a woman.
He was, yeah. So he's worried about her safety and about his own. He goes and meets Alan Cumming at the hotel. He's looking for her.
He's looking for Nick Nightingale. Sorry. Who has seemingly been found out that he told Cruise how to get in.
Yeah, and his paranoia starts to become a little bit justified because things seem to be going a little bit weird and crazy. But the film ultimately isn't about that, and it's not about the shocking twists of what's happened. It's
we've kind of settled on that the shocking scenes at the party are like, not dull, but like the least affecting part of this.
Yeah, that they're kind of just like these people's only fun that they have in their lives, these weird rich freaks.
And I think the thing that kind of nails this for me is that Strangers in the Night is playing at the party.
And you're like, this is like fucking orgy gold being on. At this.
It is.
Like,
it's like, people sat down and organized this. We're like, what'll be a good song to have at the back of our super sneaky sex party?
Yes.
And I was like, we'll do Strangers in the Night, obviously.
No. Like, Kubrick is doing everything he can to make the super sneaky sex party look as kind of mundane as possible, despite the crazy sex stuff that's happening.
It's incredibly not erotic for what it is.
Yeah. No, it's
it's rich people on their last grasp of like, what can we do to have fun?
Yeah, and it's like they have so much money and luxurious kind of, everything's so shiny and fancy at this party, and yet it doesn't feel particularly upmarket, I guess. It feels like a very pedestrian relationship.
Yeah, we also see Todd Field playing the piano, and in the shot they just like show all of his equipment there,
and his amps and stuff. And you're like, this really takes all the enigma out of this.
Yeah, when you can see wires and stuff, you're like, this is just a thing someone organized.
Yeah,
takes the mystery, takes the magic out of it.
Yeah, and then the movie just kind of ends with. There's a bit more investigation and interrogation.
Yeah, he returns back to the same building the day after,
and
where
the scary butler comes and meets him at the door,
hands him a note, and is like,
"Fuck off, leave us alone." He goes and he confronts Sidney Pollack about it, and Sidney Pollack's kind of like, "Yes, everything you think is happening," and Tom Cruise is like, "Fuck, oh god, oh my brain." He goes home. The mask is on the bed. He cries and he tells Nicole Kidman what's been happening, and then they go Christmas shopping with their kids, or their one kid, and they save Christmas, and there's only one thing left for us to do. What? Fuck. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Eyes wide shut. It's a lot of fun. Very rewatchable.
I
enjoyed it a lot more second time.
Like, this is what, 2 hours 40?
Yeah.
I find this passes very quickly.
It does, because there's only like 8 scenes.
There is only 8
and they're
scenes.
really long. Tar is similar.
But you know what makes them really short?
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman are in them.
That, but also I find the piano single note score.
Oh yeah. So
like
let's perform the score for our listeners.
No, not perform the score.
Dun 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 dun.
It's a
off.
completely untrackable melody.
Yeah,
Because,
it's impossible to repeat
but
from memory.
you can
Shout out to Jocelyn Puck, the composer.
you can stretch 2 minutes of Tom Cruise looking through a gate
Yes, with
and
the
make
music,
it feel
yeah.
like
Yes,
it's breezing by.
Yes, I agree.
Just because
yeah,
the
yeah.
music keeps you so kind
Yeah.
of.
If very little happens in your 2-hour, 40-minute movie,
Yeah.
but everything that happens is super interesting human behavior, the film will fly by.
The score is so off rhythm that you can never settle your brain into a pattern and get
bored.
get bored,
or lose
yeah.
interest. Yeah, exactly. It's keeping you engaged through.
because you get an unexpected sound
Yes.
every couple of seconds of a note you're not expecting
True.
to hear, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm still looking at this.
Yeah, but it's also a film where all the human behavior in this film is the sort of thing that would make your attention would be caught if you overheard a conversation in public.
Yeah.
Like every conversation that happens in this film, if you were out and you heard people talking like this, you'd be like, oh, what's that now? What's that? And that's unusual, but it doesn't feel too far-fetched. It's like stuff that people do in the real world with their marriages, with their orgies, with their crazy cults.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of behavior we'd be like, ooh, I want to listen in on this. And that's perfect entertainment. That's really, really engaging filmmaking. Like,
There's also a kind of bit of an asymmetry in this where the whole Tom Cruise's adventure is set off by Nicole Kidman telling him about a dream, essentially.
Yes.
And yet he goes off, he kisses a client's daughter, he visits a prostitute, he goes to a sex party.
Yeah.
He does all these things that are more tangible and more real, if you want to count them as cheating or infidelity. And like, to him,
he's just
they're
using
less
his,
severe.
Yeah,
'cause
he's
he
using his wild card, or he's using his like free pass.
But I guess he, in his own head, probably doesn't consider any of them things a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're
he's Tom
decisions
Cruise.
he's making.
Yes.
Not even just that he's Tom Cruise. I think this is probably
But also every time he goes to one of these places, he's having these crazy mental flashes of Nicole
Justifying
Kidman having
it.
sex
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
sailor. So he's just like, I'm just restoring the balance of our marriage here.
Yeah.
And like ultimately the film ends with her being like, our marriage is fine. So you're kind of like, I guess the balance is restored here, even though she's done nothing wrong.
No,
she
she was
just
a-
told
she
him
was a
about
bit
a dream.
rude and
She's
a bit
bit
mean.
rude and was stoned and was a bit mean to him and grumpy. But like, he's the one who's going fucking being weird and sneaking around. So
And again, like, I'm not sure if the message here is that women get away with significantly less.
perhaps a little bit. Yeah.
Because that was my reading of it. Like, men can get hysterical and emotional around, almost possessive over their wives, and it becomes unhealthy.
Yes.
But
Maybe.
yeah,
Well, we have to acknowledge the what's bigger, the humpback whale in the room, being that these two were real life married when this movie was made. It is so great that the fucking weird sex marriage movie has a real life married couple in it who had a massive public divorce. It's just so interesting. So Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman met in 1989 on a movie called Days of Thunder, a Tony Scott film that I watched this week. It is Top Gun with cars. It is a NASCAR action drama with Tom Cruise as a guy who drives fast cars that go vroom. His coach is Robert Duvall. He gets injured and he basically has to go into sort of rehab for racers, and his doctor is played by Nicole Kidman, using her natural Australian accent. She's only probably in like 25, 30 minutes this movie, but they get a sex scene. There's a bit of sizzly chemistry between them, and you can definitely see the sparks of, oh, these two could be a fun on-screen couple and an off-screen couple. So that's where they meet. They get married Christmas Eve, 1990 in Colorado, and 1992 they adopt their daughter Isabella, and they adopt a son called Connor. There's issues there we don't need to get into to do with the child's situation, but they adopt these kids. And they stay married until 2001, where they separate. So this movie is sort of in the last quarter of their relationship, and is the third film they star in together, after obviously Days of Thunder. But then while they are together, they star in this movie called Far and Away, which absolutely sucks. This is a 1992 Ron Howard film about a young Irish couple who run away to America. Tom Cruise plays a farmer.
Jesus.
Called Joseph Donnelly.
Oh God!
And he's from the wrong side of the tracks, and he basically ends up at the big fancy house of Shannon Christie, played by Nicole Kidman, and Robert Prosky's her father. She's more upper class. Is she Protestant coded? I don't really know what the distinctions were in old-timey Ireland that this film exists in. But anyway, her father's like, that man is a scumbag. And she's like, I'm going to run away to America with him. This film is so bad, folks. I mean, imagine the vibes of a film like Finian's Rainbow or Flight of the Doves. Two great films, but imposed onto Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman doing the hokey Irish paddy cap thing. I am not easily offended by American actors doing Irish accents. But it's not so much the accent stuff in this film. It's just the one-dimensionality of how it depicts old-timey Ireland and the dynamics here. Yeah. Colm Meaney shows up to like punch Tom Cruise in the face. There's bits of it that are like, funny they did that. But it just stinks. And I just don't know why Ron Howard was making this shit in the mid-90s. It's obviously Oscar bait nonsense. But like, it comes out in May 1992. $60 million budget. Was a hit. It's awful. And
I like to think someone tried to give Ron Howard a note to drop the Irish accents. And
I know, yeah. A la Seth Rogen on The Studio.
Yes.
But no, this movie sucks, and it's a shame that of the three Tom and Nicole movies we got, one of them is absolute dog shit, and one of them is kind of non-existent. But anyway, they nevertheless get separated in 2001. Tom Cruise files for divorce, and there is, of course, the iconic image of Nicole Kidman running down the street, looking the happiest that anyone has ever looked in their entire life when the marriage finally gets finalized. The divorce gets finalized. This image was recently pastiched by Haim for the cover of their single relationships with the three of them walking down the street, which is really fun. What were you going to say?
I'm just saying, when it comes to marriage arrangements, I am almost certainly on the side of Nicole Kidman, 100%.
100%. I mean,
she seems very chill, very normal.
There's so much complications with this marriage, and it is ultimately the thing that makes people hate Tom Cruise. And if especially a woman in my life tells me that they hate Tom Cruise, and I go, you can't hate him, he jumps off of things, he's so cool, and they go, yeah, but his marriage to Nicole Kidman like was clearly clouded in horrendous culty Scientology, blackmail, and abduction and all sorts of shit, and maybe she was being followed, and maybe they sent assassins after her, and all of this completely speculative stuff. But I don't think that Nicole Kidman probably did anything wrong.
No.
And I think that this was a complete low point for Tom Cruise in terms of how he let Scientology dominate one of his marriages. And I don't know, the same stuff might have very well happened again with Katie Holmes. I'd love to hear her side of the story there. But like, look, they're obviously not on good terms. I don't think you're ever going to see those two in the same square footage of each other again.
You don't think the two will ever appear at the Oscars some year?
I don't think that they're ever going to be standing beside each other ever again.
In the room.
Oh, I think that they might be in the room together. But Tom Cruise didn't go to the Oscars 2 years ago when he was nominated for Best Picture for Top Gun Maverick. So I don't know if he's ever going to go to the Oscars ever again.
Then again, we did have an Adrian Brody Halle Berry kiss this year. So
yeah, but
anything is possible.
They weren't married. No, very different, and there was no Scientology involved.
I'm being facetious.
But I think everybody was very supportive of Nicole Kidman in the industry soon after this happens, and you can tell because she wins her Oscar in 2003. Yeah. So, like, right after this divorce, she is basically anointed as, you know what, Nicole Kidman, you're actually totally allowed to be a superstar on your own.
Yeah, and that could have very easily, like, derailed her
absolutely.
career,
and Nicole Kidman has had a
Hollywood
phenomenal career. They both have, but in totally different lanes. But Nicole Kidman, leading up to Eyes Wide Shut, she's in those two movies with Tom, obviously. Also in the 90s, she appears in the movie Malice with Alec Baldwin and Bill Pullman, which I watched recently. This is a movie about a doctor who kind of like does a bad surgery, and it just kind of creates a ripple effect on Bill Pullman's life, and it turns out that Nicole Kidman is actually in cahoots with Alec Baldwin to destroy Bill Pullman's life. It's a very early Aaron Sorkin screenplay.
Yeah.
Very weird, like medical erotic thriller with like really kind of grisly medical elements to it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And then she's in the Gus Van Sant movie To Die For, which I watched the other day, which is very like late 90s, kind of like Red Roses in the Garden, Blue Velvet, American Beauty type space. But she plays like a very, it's a real Reese Witherspoon part. She plays like a very ambitious local news presenter, and she seduces a young man played by Joaquin Phoenix, and ultimately there's a murder, and Matt Dillon's in it. I didn't really like it very much. Then she's in Batman Forever with the late Val Kilmer, where she plays Dr. Chase Merriweather, and I could tell you that without looking it up. And she is an expert in split personality disorder, and she shows up just in time to investigate Two-Face, played by Tommy Lee Jones. And she doesn't really do anything in that. She's just kind of cast as something pretty to look at. Unfortunately, she's much better than that, but she is cast in that role. She's in the Jane Campion movie, Portrait of a Lady. She's in The Peacemaker with George Clooney, which looks like fun. It's like a things exploding in the Middle East thriller. Okay. She's in Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock as witches, and then she's in Eyes Wide Shut, and then Moulin Rouge is right after this, and we already discussed that movie on the podcast, so tune in and listen. Tom Cruise, meanwhile, one other Nicole Kidman movie I have to mention, 2003. She's in a movie called The Human Stain, which I watched today. This is a Philip Roth adaptation with Anthony Hopkins. This is a movie where Anthony Hopkins says a slur in a lecture and he gets cancelled. This leads him to reflect on his past, in which we learn that he is a black man. He is he is ethnically black, right? But looks like Anthony Hopkins. Yep. As a young man, in flashback, he's played by Prison Break star Wentworth Miller. Okay. But he's a member of a black family raised by black parents, and this complicates his relationship with saying slurs. This is a terrible, terrible film. I have to assume that the Philip Roth novel it's based on is far better and far more nuanced and sophisticated and probably funny.
I mean, from the sounds of it, probably not.
Well, I'd imagine that the novel is probably more satirical and has a bit of humor to it. The film is lifeless and humorless and played completely straight. Weird. Absolutely dreadful film. Anyway, Tom Cruise, leading up to the release of Eyes Wide Shut, is on a fantastic run, one of the all-time great runs. His first Oscar nomination is for lead actor in Born on the 4th of July, which I watched for the first time. Oliver Stone's movie about a Vietnam vet who becomes a great anti-war activist. Tom Cruise spends much of the movie in a wheelchair. There's a great scene where him and Willem Dafoe get kind of like pranked and dropped out in the middle of the desert, and they're in their wheelchairs. They're like, how the fuck do we get back to the city? It's great. Pretty good performance. Good film. Cruise keeps it well anchored. I don't think it necessarily like utilizes his like zany kind of Tom Cruise intensity as much as it could, but it is fun. He makes Days of Thunder and Far and Away back to back. Few Good Men, The Firm, Interview with a Vampire, Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire, and then he's in Eyes Wide Shut. And the same year he's in Eyes Wide Shut, he's in Magnolia. Incredible run of just like completely different movies, different directors, different genres, and a lot of those are really good, and some not so much. But Magnolia, obviously, I think for you and I, the better performance of these two this year. But it's a good pair to choose from.
I think they're both. They're both playing two very different manifestations of
Tom Cruise's
toxic man. Like,
no, in that he is completely everything's on the surface. He's Andrew Tate. He's Conor McGregor. He's the worst public-facing misogynist you'll ever meet. And in this, he is the handsome, beautiful husband, father, and doctor who
could snap at a second.
Who could snap at a second and has an insane relationship with his own vanity and sexuality. And it's a great pair of films to figure out what Tom Cruise's thing is. Although I do think the Magnolia character actually makes Tom Cruise seem normal. Because you're like...
You can't play that much of a caricature without some level of awareness of what you're playing.
If Tom Cruise is able to turn up the volume on that insane, horrible, evil character so highly, you're like, he actually has a pretty good finger on the pulse in terms of what men like this are like. So I think the Magnolia performance makes him seem like a cool guy, and the Eyes Wide Shut performance maybe makes him seem a little bit crazy. That's interesting. But yeah, I think these are both great performances, and I'm glad we got them both from him. Anything else to say about this movie? I mean, who's the lead of the film? It's obviously Cruise. He's in more scenes. So. The movie's marketed as a boy party. Real great poster, which is Cruise, Kidman, Kubrick, Eyes Wide Shut. I love that. I wish we got more of that.
That'd be great.
They could do that now. You could absolutely do DiCaprio, De Niro, Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon.
100%.
Or the new one is going to be The Rock, DiCaprio, Blunt, Scorsese. But I think There's very few directors you can do it with now, but you can do it. You could do.
Would you get away with it with like a Wes Anderson now coming up?
No, I don't think so. Just they can't do the surname though.
Yeah.
You could do
Benicio, Wes, Tom.
No way. No. You could do
Scarlett,
DiCaprio, Pitt, Robbie, Tarantino.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few you could do, but definitely
Damon, Holland,
Nolan, Hathaway, Nolan. Yeah.
Nah, Nolan wants his own thing there. He's kind of bigger than.
There's a few you could do this with though. But it's great. I love it. The poster's great. So you've got this purple background and this little spooky picture frame.
Yeah.
And inside the picture frame is Tom Cruise kissing Nicole Kidman, and she's looking at the lens like, what the fuck? It's great. It's a great image. I tried to recreate this image with you and I from photos of our faces that I had on file. Haven't quite succeeded. You'll all have seen it on Instagram.
if we were less skeptical of AI, we could do that website I see often used now where they make
you can kiss your crush. Yeah, that website should be illegal, and anyone who uses it should be.
I wasn't referring to that one. I was just seeing its own where they're making like two professional football players kiss.
The one that I get on TikTok is kiss your crush with AI photo, and it's
I see a lot of like LeBron James kissing his son kind of stuff.
This app encourages you to put a photo of yourself and a photo of a girl you go to school with. I mean, you should go to prison if you use that.
I think you should. That should constitute.
It's non-consensual use of someone's image. Ugh. Anyway, and nothing else to say about this movie. He's the lead, but she's great. She's obviously a huge star at the time, which is why she's included in the marketing. So
vibes are an atmosphere just off the charts. Yeah. All time.
This movie received 0 Oscar nominations.
Chronic.
1 Golden Globe nomination for Jocelyn Pook. Gonna drop everyone's favorite line: "A person I've communicated with over email at work." Nominated by the French, nominated by the Satellite Awards, the César Awards. The French love this, obviously, because it is le film pervers. There's obviously, like, I remember being told about this movie as a child or as a preteen and being like, that sounds so fucking scary. I don't want to watch a movie where someone goes to a sex thing in a big house. That sounds terrifying. And it's not scary. It sounds scary if you hear about it and you've been reading Dan Brown novels like I had been, and you're like, this sounds like a scary Illuminati thing.
Yeah, but this film is ultimately incredibly based in reality and how these things would go.
It's got a real kind of wink and nod attitude to everything in it. But also, I think that Tom Cruise probably does stuff in real life that is way scarier than anything in this movie.
And Sidney Pollack is very much the scariest thing in this.
Exactly, and he's not that scary. But if you watch this knowing what Tom Cruise and Scientology is like, you're like, this movie is just not as extreme as anything that goes on.
Pipe rod theory,
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's Eyes Wide Shut. And time to play the Letterboxd Top 4 game. This week's lucky Letterboxd user who has this movie in their top 4 favorite films is Film Twitter's very popular Michael Chow.
Oh, yes.
So this is a favorite of ours from twitter.com.
Yep.
He's a great cinephile, and he has Eyes Wide Shut as his number 4 on his top 4 on Letterboxd right now. So I would like you to guess Michael Chow's.
Oh, what does Michael Chow like?
So we have got here a comedy from 1987. We have got a genre classic, I'm going to call it, from 1980.
Are we calling that a horror?
It's a horror adjacent. It's a genre classic from 1982.
Classic. Okay.
And from 1992, we have a film I don't particularly like by one of my favorite directors. There you go. Those are your clues.
1992.
So 87, we have a comedy.
87.
Classic comedy. It's a boy party. We haven't discussed it, but we've discussed one of the stars on it.
Is this like Steve Martin adjacent? Or
this is a Steve Martin two-hander.
Okay.
1987. The man who directed this film is a murderer, I think. Let me quickly check that it's the director I'm thinking of.
The murderer.
Yeah. No, apologies. This is a John Hughes movie, not a murderer. Abort.
Would giving me the second star give it away?
It's a fat guy.
John Candy.
Correct.
Oh, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Next up, we have our genre classic, 1982. This is a movie that I don't like at all.
We got any more? What genre?
It's a genre classic. That's the genre.
What?
It's a genre classic. As in, it's like a movie that men in their 40s have posters on their walls. I can't put it in a genre because it's not in one genre. It's a genre movie. It's a movie for men who are a certain age.
Is that what that means?
That's what. Yeah. Like, it's a genre movie. Like,
okay.
As in, it's a cult film.
Yes, but okay.
It is beloved by men who like film.
And we just don't like it.
No.
Well, you don't. Sorry, have I seen it?
No, it's not our generation's classic. Like,
and is it funny?
No, No, it's spooky, freaky, violent.
It's just The Goonies or something.
No, it's like a spooky, freaky, violent R-rated movie by a master filmmaker.
John Carpenter.
John Carpenter.
Okay. The Thing.
The Thing. No interest. I don't like it. 2 stars.
Grand.
Apologies to everyone over 40 who
haven't
loves
seen
that movie. Next up, we have one of my favorite directors, one of my least favorite films of his. Apologies to everyone who loves this.
From 92.
92, yeah.
From 92.
This film is not bad by any means. I just don't get much out of it. It is, yeah. I don't know. I will give it away instantly.
Is the director still alive?
No.
No. Dead director.
Dead.
Recently?
Yes.
Oh, it's a DL.
Yes.
Lost Highway?
No. I don't care for this at all. You haven't seen.
It's not
this.
in an Empire.
You haven't seen this. Pre Lost Highway.
Pre Lost
Between
Highway.
Wild at Heart and Lost Highway.
It's not Elephant Man.
No. Now I'm wondering, are you just not going to guess this at all?
Go on, tell me.
Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me.
Oh,
the movie.
Sorry, yeah, I would.
And then his fourth favorite is Eyes Wide Shut. That's Mr. Chow. His username is Sriracha Chow.
Shout out.
Now, the box office.
Sriracha?
Sriracha Chow.
Sriracha Chow. Not Sriracha.
Sriracha Chow.
Okay.
I've said it correctly. All right. Give me that box office.
No, do you want the year or do you want the week?
Let's fuck around and get the week.
You want the week?
This movie comes out at middle of summer, so hopefully we have a few blockbusters. July 16th, 1999. I am 1 3/4 years old. And I am going to see Eyes Wide Shut on my own.
On your own, like a little pervert you
little
grew up
pervert
to be.
I was, yeah.
You're like Tom Cruise sneaking into the thing you shouldn't be.
Yeah, exactly. Eyes Wide Shut.
Any second now.
Oh, I need to mention quickly that myself and Christina dressed up as Tom and Nicole in the final scene of this for Halloween last year.
Yes, we did.
Because Christina looks quite like Nicole Kidman in this when she wears her big round glasses. So we wore the same coats that they wore when they go to the Christmas shop with the kid. And we looked quite similar.
You did not have the child to go
We
along
did not
with
have the child.
You did not borrow a child.
No, we did not.
This opens number 1.
Cool. Good.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is a big draw. Who knew?
21 million opening weekend.
21 million.
impressive.
That's not bad at all for
No,
a
not at all.
weird long movie. Yeah. Based on a Schnitzler story. Yeah.
Number 2, I guess Manny would call this also a pervert movie.
Manny Wood. Okay.
In a completely different tone.
Is it a comedy?
Yeah.
Is it for young kids? As in
No.
for teens? Like,
Sure.
The movie is American Pie.
It's American Pie.
Yes. This movie is way more perverted than Eyes Wide Shut.
Sure.
It's actually like American Pie is fucking gross. Like, but it is directed by Chris and Paul Weitz, who are nice, cool guys who I like and good podcast guests. So, American Pie. I think I've only seen the first American Pie. Maybe I've seen the second one. But it gave the world Jennifer Coolidge, and I will never forgive it for that.
Sure. Next up, we have got a film led by Bill Pullman.
Okay, we just discussed him.
We did.
Thingy. A film that was not Casper.
Nope.
Bill Pullman. It's a drama?
It looks horror-y.
I honestly might not know what this is.
We got Brendan Gleeson as fourth build.
I have no idea what this could be.
Oliver Platt, Bridget Fonda.
Nope. No idea.
Betty White.
What's the movie?
This is Lake Placid.
Yeah, was never going to get
By
that.
Steve Miner.
Don't know who that is.
Friday the 13th.
Brendan Gleeson. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Brendan Gleeson. Weird.
Brendan Gleeson. Next up, film we like very much.
Okay. It is 1999.
It is
a film we like very much.
One of our boys, the boy.
The Boy. This is Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
In 1999, this movie is Big Daddy.
Big
now,
Daddy.
that's for pervert. No.
No,
Big Daddy's
not at all.
Big Daddy's
That's
fantastic.
the least perverted movie there is.
Big Daddy's so fucking good.
It's great.
Big Daddy's just one of the greatest films ever made. Like, well, I mean, I've popped this question to you many times. Which do you prefer, Billy Madison or Big Daddy? I think I prefer Billy Madison. I think Billy Madison is a perfect 80 minutes.
Sure.
Big Daddy's
I think
good.
I've
It's
only
just
seen Billy Madison once.
Big Daddy is so good though. The
It
McDonald's breakfast, the Steve Buscemi, the cool apartment.
Yeah. It's just so
The gay friends.
kind and sincere.
It's so
and,
nice. It's
completely
fucking so good.
validates my opinion that Adam Sandler is
And the Sprouse.
today's
Yes.
modern manifestation of
Yes,
Jimmy Stewart.
exactly. And the Sprouse twins are so good in it
Yeah.
as the kid. Yeah. A kangaroo song as well.
Kangaroo
It's so
song.
good. All right. Keep going.
Okay. Something about the name of this film suggests it's a Western.
The Quick and the Dead?
Nope.
Good guess. It's probably not a good guess at all. I don't know.
Okay, but this is a...
This
Oh,
is
this
Western the movie.
Is this a boy party? I think it could be.
All right, tell me who we got. Reveal the names.
There's 3 people on the poster.
I love it. It's not Wild Wild West.
It is Wild Wild West.
Smith, Klein, Hayek, and a giant spider, which means I'll never watch it.
Are you referring to Kenneth Branagh when you say giant spider?
No, there's well, that's a good reason.
Oh,
not to
there is
watch
a
it.
giant spider.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a mechanical spider.
Still, I'm scared of the spider
That's
in Wild Wild West.
machines.
So the famous thing with Wild Wild West is that John Peters. Do you remember who John Peters is? The guy that Bradley Cooper plays in Licorice Pizza.
Yes. Yeah.
He came into Wild Wild West and he fucking destroyed it.
Okay.
Because he had an obsession with getting a mechanical spider into a movie for like 20 years.
Okay.
And he eventually got his fingers into Wild Wild West and was like, it's my moment. This movie's going to have a mechanical spider. And Barry Sonnenfeld was like, no, thank you. No interest. No. And he was like, fuck you. So that movie has a mechanical spider. Everyone hates it. The most famous thing about it is the song.
What's the song?
Wild Wild West by Will Smith.
Oh, yeah, of course.
One of his big hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be terrible.
Very
I'll
good.
never know because there's a spider.
Do you want to see the poster?
No, it has a spider on it. I'm familiar with the poster. It also has
Me and
Kevin
Lucien
Kline
also found a very, very large spider in our house.
and I learned that Shane is an arachnophobe too. So there you
I fucking
go.
hate them. I'm fine
He's
looking at
fine
them
with
on
them in
screens,
films,
but if you put it on a wall right behind me and then
Yes.
alert me that it's behind the
Yes.
wall right behind me, I
Yeah.
will
Scary stuff.
jump out of my seat and hide around the corner.
Scarier than anything in Eyes Wide Shut.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do one more.
I still dealt with it.
You did
Just-
dealt
just-
with it.
just
You're such a
FYI.
big man. But then we had to
I-
get a third guy to deal with the bin yesterday.
Did that happen?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Someone who doesn't even live here. Yeah.
A third? Oh.
Yeah. Someone who was over visiting. Dealt with it.
You got him to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah. Fine.
That's what friends are
fine.
for.
All right, next up. I don't think you'll know what this is.
Fine. What is it?
Omar Epps, Richard T. Jones, Tate Iggs.
Richard T. Joker. I don't know what that is.
The Wood.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yeah.
The
That opened at number 6.
Fantastic.
Then we got I think we got a Brendo in here.
The Mummy.
Nope. He's got less clothes on.
Bedazzled. He's got less clothes on.
Yeah.
Not Bedazzled.
Nope.
Not Encino Man. What would he have less clothes?
Never mind. It's
not him.
No,
Who is it?
this is animated.
Oh, what is it?
Tarzan.
Oh, right.
Sorry, he plays
George
he
the
plays
Jungle. He's
George
not Tarzan. Sorry.
Excuse me. Apologies.
Tarzan
Apologies,
famously
folks.
with banger songs by Phil Collins or Peter Gabriel, one of those. Yeah.
All
One
right.
more.
We got a Star Wars,
Yeah, wonderful. Still knocking about.
General's Daughter, and number 10, Muppets from Space,
Ugh, rubbish.
followed by Austin Powers and South Park.
Yeah,
At all.
none of. Oh, Austin Powers is good, but no interest in South Park. Muppets in Space is crap. The worst Muppets movie. All right, that's it, folks. Thank you for voting for Eyes Wide Shut. We hope you got what you wanted from this episode, and
Let us know what you thought about it.
yeah, please
And
do.
come to our party at
Yes, the password is. We should have had a joke
Wild
prepared.
Wild West.
Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with TBC. To be honest with you, could be one of several things. Visit boypartypod.com. You can follow the show on Blue Sky and Instagram. And hopefully this week you'll be able to tune in and hear myself and Shane discussing Better Man on Flop Culture,
Oh, yes.
where we joined Fanula Jones to discuss the wonderful Robbie Williams Monkey movie. And we will link that in the notes. It should be out in about 2 days' time. And you'll see if that's true. in
Yeah,
about 2 days.
big collab for us.
Big
That's,
collab.
It's our big break.
And we get
Bit
to
of
talk
a-
about monkeys and Robbie Williams and all your favorite things. So.
Bit of a boy party.
A boy party. Exactly, when we collab with another podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Back next week. Thank you for voting for throughout March. We had a lot of fun running those polls. It gave me something to do every day for 20 minutes, which I always enjoy. We could do another March Madness like in September.
September Madness.
Called like September Stakes or something.
Sure.
September Sweeps.
September Sweeps.
I have no objection to doing it twice a year because I think it's great fun and
It's good engagement.
It's good engagement for the socials, and it gives a good sense of what kind of movies people want us to talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
And we will do some of the other ones from that bracket soon.
Yeah, and we could throw in all like the quarterfinalists or something from the last two brackets.
Yeah, but I think there's a few from that bracket we definitely want to do soon, like Nocturnal Animals and Princess Diaries and whatever else. So thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.
Bye bye.